The Expanded University, imaginative and boundless. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for being here. I am off camera because once again, I'm having internet issues, despite the fact that I have a brand new modem, new router, and 1 gigabit service, I should say. So I'm going to look into that with my cable provider tomorrow. But if it improves, I can come on camera, and I have a couple of materials that I'd like to show. But let's bring in our guests. Number one is a person that I am announcing right now is going to, from here on out, be considered a tenured professor and graduate of a doctorate with honors at Expanded University, OG Star Wars. What's going on, Allure?
Oh, hello, everyone. And hello, Tim. Yes, I'm excited to be here. Myself, I'm not on camera today because I have been suffering with some severe allergies and not feeling too well. But I am here and I'm excited to, get the show rolling. Thank you, Tim, for having me.
Yeah, and I'll say this, that you were showing us that painting, and if that's you at your bad, then hey, that's still pretty good.
Well, thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, and then also with the same honors is the one and only Matt Wilkins from theexpandeduniverse.com.
Hi, I do have allergies, but I don't care. I always look bad. Laura looks great. She's lying, by the way. She looks great right now. In fact, she doesn't want any more fan mail. So she's not going to show herself because, again, we would have a problem with breaking the. She's already broken Tim's internet.
Yes, that's what happened.
Blame it on me.
That's right.
But thanks for being here.
Fantastic.
Thanks for being here, guys. And this, as soon as this was arranged, I'm like, I know the two people that would love this, and I was right because both of you were enthusiastic and excited about it. So thank you very much for being here. But let's bring in the honored guest that we're honored to have, the daughter of L. Neil Smith, one of the original Expanded Universe authors, Rylla C. Smith. What's going on, ma'am?
Hi, how's it going, you guys?
Pretty good.
Thanks
We're
for
honored to have you.
Absolutely, we are. Yeah, this is awesome. So I guess, we can kind of back up here. And I don't think I ever asked you this, but how did you come to find the video? I know that you probably found me on Twitter because I have it plastered right there on my banner, like, here's how you reach this asshole that makes all these videos. But how did you find the video?
So one of the things that I've been having to do since my father passed away is sort of keep an eye on what's going on the internet. You kind of want to watch out and see if there's anybody trolling or anything like that. Caught some people doing stuff to the Wikipedia page. That was weird. Nothing obscene, nothing creepy, but so I just decided to search on a whim on YouTube to see if anybody was talking, if there was any traffic. And I found Tim's video, and I was just so taken with his storytelling about the Lando Calrissian book that his parents wouldn't buy for him.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for you.
And so I knew, this is somebody that I want to reach out to. I want to thank him. And he's a nice conversationalist. We had a good conversation on Twitter, and here we are. Thank you very much.
No, and that's what's interesting about like the YouTube algorithm. Like, you never know what you're going to find when you search for something. And I was a little disappointed because not that many people were acknowledging this. And I think, and people that we know that are into this stuff. And I'm like, man, this is like a huge loss, And as soon as I heard about it, I'm like, I've got to make a video. And I think I made it within a couple of hours of hearing about it. And I think I heard about it from one of Matt's compatriots who runs the Expanded Universe on Twitter, and I'm like, oh no, this can't be true. And then I go to Facebook and I found what is your father's friend's name?
Sean Gabb.
Correct. Yes, I found his post, and I'm like, wow, this really happened. So I kind of just went and got the books and came in here and I filmed the video. So yeah, and everyone's heard the story. Like, I was Star Wars crazy in the early 80s, wanted the comics, wanted all this, but I think my parents started to get worried about how obsessed I was. But I think my internet might be clearing up a little bit. But this one right here, it was on one of those racks that spin. And I'm like, look at this, because I just seen Return of the Jedi, and it's more Lando. So I asked, oh, you won't read that. You're 7 years old. You don't read novels, But it's like, well, I want it anyway. Look at the picture on the front. This awesome cover art by William Schmidt, by the way. So, yeah, they wouldn't let me have it. But then after Heir to the Empire came out, which is Timothy Zahn's first book, which I'm sure you've read that one, right?
No, I can't say I have. No.
Well, that's where you should start. But this is what I found in a used bookstore, like just a few blocks from my house in Stockton, California.
Oh, wow.
So it's the third one, but I'm like, I don't care. I'm reading it anyway, right? Because I want Star Wars. So eventually I found the other two and I had the whole set. But amazing stuff. It was true to the character. And I'll stop talking and let someone else talk in a minute. But I think the real mark here was also creating like Vufi Ra, the droid companion of Lando, and that was like his own character. Any interview you read, he likes to talk about that character, and he's pleased that people liked the character. So I guess this is a weird question. Do you ever remember that coming up? Like any characters from his books and stuff like that? Like, did that ever come up in conversation from any of his books, not just Star Wars?
I mean, there were certain characters of his that he was really in love with. Lucy Kropotkin from the North American Confederacy series.
Oh, I want to read that so bad.
Yeah, start with the Probability Brooch.
Okay.
And then I believe the American Zone was next.
Venus Belt.
Venus Belt was next.
In order of writing, not publication. So.
That's my mother.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Off camera. But strangely, on the same day as my father passed away, Ed Asner passed away.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And he was actually the model upon whom my father's like avatar character for North American Confederacy series was like formed. Win Bear. So sort of a strange cosmic synergy there.
Right.
So he loved Win Bear. He loved Lucy. He did love, and he always pronounced it Vuffy Raw.
Okay, I've heard it pronounced both ways. So
Yeah.
But see, that's something we learned, right? That's
I was gonna say that's great to know. That's great to know because this is back before audiobooks, and no one knows how to pronounce these names, but the author is always, of course, the right one to say it. So Vuffy. Love
Buffy,
it.
yep. Like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but you know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, that's cool to know. So let's go around here. Like, Laura, when did you read these books, the trilogy, the Lando trilogy? When did you first read them, and what were your impressions?
Oh God, it's been a while. And in fact, I had to go back and review to remember some stuff. So my very first one that I read was, well, not out of the trilogy, but out of Star Wars books, was True Set Back Horror. You guys know that story.
Yep.
And then I seen the trilogy, Lando Calrissian trilogy, and I had to pick those up too. So I believe shortly after that, I picked up the trilogy along with the Thrawn trilogy. So I was going back to the two. And I got to tell you though, like Tim said, and I'm pretty sure Matt would agree, is that Lando Calrissian was spot on in that trilogy. It's like,
Oh yes.
yeah, it's like, you watch Return of the Jedi and even Empire Strikes Back and all that, and then you go back to those books, and those are years before that, and you could still feel the same type of demeanor and his I would say his smuggling but business kind of character, and
Yep.
and just solving his way out of stuff. I mean, it was so good, and I couldn't put him down. And at the time I was like into the Thrawn trilogy too, and I had a hard time going in between because I actually I'll probably get people upset with me, but I rather had read, like, I stayed on the Lando Calrissian trilogy more than the Thrawn during the time. I kept on going back to that. So
Yeah, and I read a lot of interviews, over the last couple of weeks, old ones that I dug up, and he talked a lot about how he liked the character because he liked Han Solo and stuff. So was your father like really into Star Wars, or just kind of into it incidentally, I guess?
I would say it was more incidental for him.
Okay.
I mean, he definitely raised me like on the Star Wars trilogy, because that's what it was when I was a kid. It was the originals, and then took me to the prequels as they came out. I guess
Right.
Gosh, that was in the late 90s.
99 was the first one. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And of course, Star Wars was important to us for another small reason, that we're from the same town that Jake Lloyd is from.
Nice.
So Star Wars was big. Star Trek was bigger for our family. But they never offered my dad a contract.
Right.
yeah, and that's the same with my family too. My family is either Star Trek or Star Wars. My grandma and some of my aunts and them stayed Star Trek. I like merged over to Star Wars and just like totally immersed myself into Star Wars. And I'm very casual fan with Star Trek, but a huge fan of Star Wars. So
yeah, and sort of now that I have kind of a blended family with my boyfriend and his family, they're more Star Wars, and I got them into Star Trek, so that's been fun.
Nice.
I got to read this comment here from Christopher Nelson. His Probability Brooch is one of the best sci-fi books ever. Smith is my hero. That's awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris and I are both big fans, and Chris is the one that actually put that post up, I believe, on the website, Tim.
Okay.
Pat, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, like, what do you think? Like, you read the books obviously a long time ago, like me, 30 years ago.
Yes. Okay.
You look so excited.
Yeah, because I've been keeping quiet this whole time, and so I've got a lot to say. But I didn't want to Kanye West Tim over there and just interrupt him and take over the show.
And you didn't want to speak over a woman, right, Matt?
Well, I know. I'm telling you. I mean, you make people go crazy like Tay-Tay. There you go. There's a bunch of Swifties in the chat here. But anyway, I read the book when it was reprinted in 1994. This is the old 3-in-1 that they came out with. A bunch of people who watch my channel, you've heard me tell this story, I don't know, 1,000,000 times. And but I was waiting for more Star Wars. And the guy at Walden Books goes, hey, they reprinted a bunch of old Del Rey books. I was like, I want those. And I wanted the new stuff. And then after months of just waiting out for the next release, I said, here, let me just go back and just buy all these. So I bought this. I bought Brian Daley. I bought Alan Dean Foster, Split in the Mind's Eye. Had a stack of books to read. And I said, okay, which one seems the least interesting? This one. And I was like, okay, so I'm gonna get Lando. I care more about Han. I love Luke. Lando, my least favorite. I'll get him first. I'll get him out of the way. And everyone, again, has heard me say this story, but this was the best out of all three. Was the absolute best. Everyone knows this. This is why I'm a Lando fan. I could not believe how incredible it was that your dad didn't just pick up a check, which he could have. He could have just mailed this in
Yep.
and said, it's Star Wars. It's gonna sell. It doesn't matter what I do. You know, I can just have him sit around and play Sabacc all day. But he actually put together a fantastic story. Buffy Ra, fantastic character, along with several other characters in the book here. But I remember reading this, and there are so many good things because, and people have told me on my channel, I've said this before, the expanded universe really underutilized Lando. And I didn't see that until I read this book, because there's so much potential. He took a character that, compared to Han, compared to Luke, would be considered second rate. And he made him one of the most interesting characters in the entire series. Gave him a different character. He's a scoundrel like Han, yet he's not like Han. He's smooth. He's smarter. He works with his brains, not his brawn. And it makes it very entertaining. That he can't fly a ship. That's great. He has to get the droid to do it. But one part that I love, and I again, for anyone who watches my channel, I'm sorry, I got to be repetitive here. But there's humor in this. Good humor that matches the original trilogy. That's one thing Alan Dean Foster failed to put in Split on the Mind's Eye. I mean, he made a good book, but this one has a lot of humor in it. And one of my favorite parts is when Lando gets into a rut and you think, oh man, the jig is up. How does he get out of this? The next chapter says Sabacc, because he talked them into playing Sabacc. Who cares what? And I was
that was awesome.
I loved it every time. I loved, and here's the thing. Your dad had a wonderful, wonderful sense of humor. He even had what I call the dad joke, the greatest dad joke ever. I don't know how many people notice this, but they're in I believe it's a nebula, and it's full of orangey orange and grapey grapes and limited, and you're like, what is going on here? And the nebula is called the Silly Rabbit. It's a it's cereal.
I remember that.
I threw down the book. I was like, that, because the whole time I'm reading it, going, what is he talking? The Silly Rabbit. I'm like, shut up. And see, my whole family, my mom, she doesn't get witty jokes. She gets the cornier, she laughs the hardest. So we're big corny joke fans. That he put it in here is so beautiful. There's so many touching moments. There's a story arc between all three, even though you can read all three individually and not get lost. That's why, Tim, when you read Starcave of ThonBoka, you didn't feel that lost because there's a overarching story, but you don't have to read it.
Right.
Each one has its own individual series. I mean, if you want to hear the art for Buffy Ra, then that happens at the end, which was nice too, which is a big surprise too. I was like, oh, but there's so many great moments. And then his relationship with the droid is great. I'm so happy to hear that's one of your dad's favorite characters. It should be. And again, this is what made me a Lando fan. This is in my top 10. Everyone saw me do my top 10 EU books, and this is in my top 10 solidly, because it's solidly. Remember, I got some congestion.
I was like, what are you talking about?
But anyway, I absolutely love these. I went back and I traced them down on hardback.
Those are the science fiction book club ones.
Oh, that's crazy.
And no, these are the original hardbacks. These are the original ones.
I didn't know that they ever published them in hardback.
I've never even seen those.
You're right. But the thing is, that copyright 1983. So the thing is, the first two came out in hardback. I did not know that the third one did not. I spent a lot of time on eBay and stores scrounging for the third hardback. And so I don't know if you or your mom, who hopefully is still listening, knows, was there a reason that the third one didn't get the hardback treatment? Or did it, and he's sitting with a sole copy?
As far as I know, there is no hardback of the third Lando book.
Okay. That's what I figured too, unless there was a library edition years ago.
My mother says, she's checking, I guess.
Well, I'm still trying to find that letter.
But I've never even seen the first two. That's crazy. That's so cool.
Yeah, no, I tracked these down a long. I mean, the moment I finished this one, I was like, I got to find these because Tim knows this. I always got to look for hardback. I found these two immediately. Couldn't find the other one.
Yeah, it's not even showing up that it's on hardback. It's only paperback print. That's
no, it never. To my knowledge, it never came out. Again, there could be a library bound copy. Years ago, they used to make a hardback library bound.
Yeah,
but those have kind of gone the way of the buffalo, and I missed the train on that. But oh my goodness, I really, really enjoyed them that much. And you're right, the artwork on this is eye-popping.
William Schmidt, yes, is the gentleman who did the art.
right.
Is eye-popping, and it's just so, I mean, it grabs your attention. Dave Dorman actually said, who did a lot of the art for Star Wars comic books, said that's why he gets hired, is to draw your eyes toward the cover. And you just pick up like, what is this? And same thing, that little Tim or Timmy. Did you ever go by Timmy as a kid?
Other people had me go by that, yes.
Okay, so that means don't call me Timmy, folks. Okay.
Whatsoever.
Big man Tim looks at this and goes, wow, I got to have me some of this. And
I got to find that now.
I do not blame you. It's so much fun. I really enjoy it. I really love these books. So I'm super excited to find out more about them. So
here's what's amazing.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say, what's amazing about the Silly Rabbit Nebula is that he was already exhibiting continuity in the expanded universe because we had the Green Rabbit Jackson from the Marvel comics. So rabbits exist in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, exactly. And then
that's exactly what he was thinking when he was eating tricks while writing that chapter.
That's what I was going to say. He's eating tricks while he's writing that. He's like, he's inspired by the colors and the Silly Rabbit Tricks are for kids theme and stuff like that. But let's go with the art cover here, because I'm an artist and stuff. And it's brilliant how people, like the artists, know that if you use primary colors and you center in such a way that it draws your eyes in. And that's what's been done so brilliantly with these books and some of the comics that we have that they have out. So,
but the only thing he missed was Vuffy Raw turning to Lando and go, "Silly Lando, the nebula's for kids." I need to. I know your mom's there, and I hate to do this. I'm gonna ask her. Does she?
Give me 1 second. She's not actually listening. Let me.
She can't hear.
She can't hear. I've got you on headphones.
Earbuds. Got it.
Yeah. Give me 1 second here.
No. You can relay it to. Oh, she's gonna come on.
Yeah. Come over here.
Awesome.
Oh, that is awesome.
Love it.
Okay. All right, everybody. This is Kathy Smith.
Hi.
Hi, Kathy's.
It froze on us a little bit.
Oh no!
Too much greatness on camera.
There it is.
Oh no!
Hi, we're back.
There they are. Hi.
Hi,
Mom.
Hi.
This is Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Wonderful to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
You missed every nice thing I just said, but that's okay. Anyway, when your husband was writing these novels, do you have any memories? Did he ever say, "Hey, read this, tell me what you think"?
These novels were written in a kind of white heat. By the time they got done negotiating over what characters could be capitalized, what races could be capitalized, what creatures could be discussed, what planets could be used, Neil had 9 weeks to write 3 books.
Ooh.
So
holy cow.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did not read them as he was writing them. He was also writing them on an electric typewriter. So
nice.
yeah, so he was banging them out, and I would work during the day and he would work all night. And by the time I got home from work, he was back at writing. So we really didn't talk to each other a whole lot while he was writing them.
With only 9 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. He was in the zone getting that out.
You know what's funny?
What's that?
I remember he mentioned that about races and stuff being capitalized, but they told him, and he said he called it petty, that anything he invented, if it was a race, was not capitalized, but stuff that already existed, like if it was a Wookiee or something like that, they had to capitalize. And he said something like, I thought that was rather petty. So I love how he's so honest in all these interviews that I read, like very direct and stuff. It's great and refreshing.
That was certainly Neil. He was very direct. I think his one condition that he absolutely insisted upon is that they had to let him use the Millennium Falcon.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then he fleshed out the card game Sabak. And,
yes, he did. Yes, he did. He is the
That's
one
what I was going to bring up. Yes.
Yes, Sabak.
Because
and I have never played it, so
I have a deck that I should have brought in here. It came with Crisis on Cloud City, a West End Games adventure. I have it in my library, but point is, I was going to ask. It's kind of like based on the Tarot, right? Did he invent that whole game himself just for the books? Do you know?
I think it was merely mentioned in the movies, as I recall. It was just kind of an offhand comment about how Lando won the Millennium Falcon, if I'm not... How Han won it, right.
Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah, he fleshed the whole thing out and wrote down the rules and, So
yeah, the very first word of the very first book is, guess what?
Sabak.
Yep. So, nice. Yeah. And that's what made it so fun.
Yeah. And him writing the trilogy in 9 weeks and fleshing out the Sabak game, that's brilliance right there. That is amazing.
That's a good description. Neil was a very intelligent, very insightful, extremely principled, very generous to his friends, and highly argumentative with his enemies.
And his friends too.
And his ground. He stood his ground, and that's good to hear, because people need to have more dignity and more dignity with themselves.
Absolutely.
Well, one thing that we actually agreed upon, he was libertarian, and we definitely agreed on this. There's more than just two parties out there. And all this pick the lesser of two evils, there's always a third choice. And that was something that he believed in. And that was something that my family also believed in too.
Nice.
So it's not throwing, this is one thing I keep saying every election year, it's not throwing your vote away to vote for the one person you like, even though they may not have a chance. You can go to bed and sleep well, knowing that your vote went to the candidate who you think is best. It doesn't have to be the last two parties. We don't have to decide between two. And there's a lot of things that he was very strong and believed in, but that was one that I completely aligned with him on. So there was a lot. That's someone I wish I could have met.
Well, one of his most, I think, impactful statements was that the choice between two evils is still evil. So don't choose one of those. Choose something else.
That's exactly fantastic. What my dad says. That's exactly what he says. So.
And the other, I think, really telling comment is in any compromise between good and evil wins.
Mm-hmm.
So
true.
Yeah, that's very profound, actually. So
he was an interesting guy. We had an interesting life. It certainly had its ups and downs, and the Lando books were, I don't know, I guess in retrospect they were ups, but at the time they weren't a lot of fun. But they were fun. They were fun to read, and I think in the end he really did enjoy writing them, in spite of the kind of petty stuff.
It's sad that happens, but when you're talking to these big companies, big publishers, they want this deadline, they want this here, and that's kind of hard to meet. But to face the stress and to do what he did and come out with some really beautiful books, they're just fantastic and flesh out the character and really made an impact. I am guessing, because everyone else who writes in a big genres such as Star Wars, they usually get a lot of those fans move over and explore their other writings. Did he experience that same type of success after these came out?
You know, it's kind of hard to tell. I would guess that there was a significant amount of crossover, but Neil also wrote a significant amount of nonfiction. Right. He was a pamphleteer, among other things. We used to go to gun shows with little broadsides that we would hand out, and he had started an organization called the Rational Libertarian Church. This was before I met him, and they had a publication called Tanstaffel, which was an 8.5.
There ain't no such thing as a free lunch.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
The moon is a harsh mistress.
Yep.
Robert A. Heinlein, 1966. Yep.
Yeah, I was just looking at, he wrote a tribute to Robert Heinlein after Heinlein passed, and I was just looking at that through our email. But so, yeah, he had a lot of crossover. There are also people who have no idea about his science fiction or the Star Wars fiction who found him through the Libertarian, L. Neil Smith's Libertarian Enterprise. And through, he had 2 nonfiction books, collections of essays, one called Down with Power and another one called Lever Action, which were collected.
I love the cover to Lever Action, by the way. I'm going to pull it up on screen. As
that,
you're
I
talking.
believe, is a Scott Beezer
That's a Scott
cover.
Beezer cover, yeah.
And Scott did a lot of work with my dad. He did the art for the Probability Broach graphic novel, and he also did all the drawing for the Roswell, Texas webcomic / graphic novel.
Yeah,
Yep, that's the one.
That's a Scott Beezer.
That is so freaking cool, man.
And that's Lucy. That's young Lucy, I think.
Yeah, Lucy Kropotkin.
Yep. They also did Phoebus Crumb and Timekeeper, I think, which were also graphic novels. And eventually,
I've got his little website pulled up here. Sorry to interrupt you. So I'm
cool.
kind of looking at all this stuff. Yep.
That's fine. You're looking at actual facts. I'm talking from memory. So please correct me if I'm wrong.
Tim, be sure to put that in the chat so everyone can go check that out.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? If there are any issues keeping this website up, then let me know, because I would like to contribute to whatever server it's on, because this old websites, they say the internet's forever. It really isn't, because I can't find a lot of old stuff that I knew used to be out there.
Yeah.
So definitely let us know if we can keep this up, because there's tons of good stuff on here.
Okay.
Well, so that actually brings me to something I wanted to mention. So I see you've linked lneilsmith.org.
Mm-hmm.
There is another website, which is ncc-1776.org. So
I love it.
Going back.
Shut up.
And
That is great.
that is the home of L. Neil Smith's The Libertarian Enterprise, which is a journal that he ran. Well, he was the
Publisher
for 25 years. Yeah, 25 years. And our editor, our current editor, is a wonderful man and a wonderful friend of ours, and he's been doing it for an extremely long time. And he is hoping to retire. So we are looking for somebody who would be interested in an editorship position for the Libertarian Enterprise. So if you know anybody, if anybody's interested in the chat, hit me up. We'd love to interview you, get an idea.
Nice.
There you go.
We would be more
Very
than
nice.
happy to have people make money off of it.
Yeah.
It really needs. So it's been a very kind of mom and pop, I would say, website for a long time. It's not very sophisticated. It's more
Those are
about
the
the
best ones.
quality of the writing. So we're looking for somebody who's really interested in the libertarian philosophy and would like to participate. We have quite a few writers who contribute regularly, and if we can assure them that the website will continue, I think we can keep them interested and probably bring in a bunch more. So
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm not saying, hey, sign me up, but I can just say that one of the reasons, because when I found out that that was kind of his ideology and his philosophy probably 20 years ago in one of those interviews on the internet. I already kind of believed that way because in the 90s when I was in high school, elections going on, all that stuff, I really wasn't, I'm this party or that. I just believed in one thing. And at the end of the day, ask yourself, does whatever you're involved in or whatever you're commenting on, what errs on the side of individual liberty? Because to me, that's the most important thing, because if not, then we become a collective and we all think the same. And when we're all the same, that's not good for society and or diversity that everyone claims to love. You're not diverse when everyone thinks the same. I'm sorry. So individual liberty is the litmus test in everything. That's my own ideology. So
I quite agree.
And guns, lots of guns.
Yeah. So you're probably familiar with his essay, Why Did It Have to Be Guns?
Yep. Yep. It's on the website. Yep.
And what if you were fond of books? I think those were the two, probably his two most impactful essays outside of the science fiction community, certainly in the gun and knife trading community. So yeah.
Nice.
Right. Need more open minds like that.
Right.
Yeah, they're getting harder to find. I hope
They
they'll
are
come
getting
back.
hard to find these days.
I think they're out there. I think they're just very quiet because they have to be.
The silent majority is right.
Yeah.
But it also is something where you have a bunch of people. This is kind of funny to use this word, but they're waking up. So maybe truly woke in a way, meaning they're waking up realizing, oh, wait, maybe thinking as one and this one direction. Can I think outside the direction? And when they even start to think like that, people attack.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It may not even be the right direction, but people attack.
Yep.
Yeah. Because you're
And then they realize, whoa, something is really wrong. I need to unplug from the matrix here and start doing my own independent thing. And that's what I've always told everyone. Do your own independent study.
Right.
Do your own the files are out there, the bills are out there, the information is out there. Do your own study. Whatever channel you watch every channel is gonna sway it their way. But do your own study and come to your own conclusion. It's not hard, it's not hidden out there. But
no one wants to do that research. They just want to listen to what's directly in front of them.
And this goes back. I mean, I was saying this because of the expanded universe. My struggles at first when I started my channel, people didn't know any of the truth about it. They heard what some kind of media guy who only read 3 books talked about it. And I was like, guys, the information is right here. And Ryan used to make fun of me because I used to hold up the magazines and the quotes and everything on my on my own. I was like, it's right here in black and white. It's written. I'm not making this up. Do your study. And then, Laura, my famous story is when the guy told me, well, because I said, look, there's an article right now on StarWars.com where you can see where I'm telling the truth. He went, do you have the link? I said, do I have the link to StarWars.com?
Are you kidding?
Are you serious? Go to StarWars.com and scroll down. That is how lazy we are as a society.
Yeah.
That we will not check it. We'll believe someone who has been proven wrong a million times over the easiest study. Just look at the bill. They have to make all this public, folks.
Yeah.
I hate it because I think it's great because do the study.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get a mark on Tim's channel. I'm going to stop before I talk about the pandemic.
the thing is,
don't do that. We're not allowed to do that.
We're not allowed to. You'll be slapped with a fact-checking warning.
Yeah, right. The thing is, there is woke and then there's awake. Woke people are hive minds. Awake means you're out there doing your research. You're thinking logically, like this is not adding up. I need to see where these connect somehow. I need to find the truth out there, and what's being presented in front of me, it's not making sense. It's not, it's not, there's no truth behind it. So
I love that contrast. That's great. Woke versus awake. Wow.
Yeah, that's really
awesome.
Good.
Do a video on that, Alora.
Assassin made a comment. My rants are entertaining. I'll talk. If I did, you should see my rant off the stream.
There you go.
Someone recorded one time. I asked him to delete it because That would give me a mark. That would give me a flag on YouTube really quick.
We can get on BitChute or Rumble for that.
That's
Well, I
right.
have a second
That's
channel.
right.
I have a second channel called Grounds of Expediency that we kind of don't care about. I only have like 100 subscribers that we just... Actually, we're going live Friday to do a political talk, me and Lost Jedi 22. But let's talk about the Prometheus Award. Now,
Okay.
I'm a little unclear on something. He invented that award, but did he also found the Libertarian Futurist Society? Or... Because that's the group that awards that award now.
Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on that. Some of this is just predates me. So
Okay.
I was Neil's third, and I told him from the beginning, final wife. And it
I love that.
so the Prometheus Award actually came into existence a little bit before I knew him, and it was taken over. The first award was given to F. Paul Wilson, I believe, and Neil was involved in that. But it quickly became obvious,
You're right.
A, that he was going to have a conflict of interest, and B, for all of his skills and talents, Neil was not a great organizer in terms of sending out mailings and things like that. I mean, if it involved going somewhere, he was fine. But if it involved the post office, he had this kind of mental block. So the Libertarian Futurist Society ended up taking over the Prometheus Award. And I don't, to be honest with you, I can't tell you off the top of my head. I believe he won 4 plus a Lifetime Achievement Award later, much later in his career. The LFS ended up adding that Lifetime Achievement Award somewhere down the line and gave it to some people that really weren't libertarians. I mean, they might have deserved a Lifetime Achievement Award for something, but I don't think you could call Ursula Le Guin a libertarian under any circumstances. So
Yeah.
And we kind of drifted away from it, and it was better that way.
He won over 10, by the way, Kathy. Over 10.
Over 10.
I thought that was
I'm looking-
nominations.
Yeah.
It might have been.
Hold on. Is
nominations.
this nominations? Hold on.
I'm looking at the actual
Yeah, you're
award.
correct. My bad.
So,
My bad.
and the
3.
original award, and I don't know what the last one was that we got. The last one, I think, was just a plaque, if I'm not mistaken. But the original award was a small gold coin.
Nice.
And I believe he presented the first one to Paul Wilson at one of the science fiction conventions. And again, that was just a little bit before my time. So,
Can I ask how y'all met?
oh God, yeah, you can.
This is where I plug my ears.
Oh! One of those
You're like, Mom,
stories.
here's earbuds. I don't want to hear this.
Oh,
Okay, this is the short version. I had been married previously too, and I was living in Champaign, Illinois. And my husband, that at the time, ended up getting a job here in Fort Collins with Hewlett Packard. And
I'm from Fort Collins. I'm originally from Fort Collins.
are you really?
What?
Nice. Well, I'm originally from Cheyenne, and then I ended up in Champaign-Urbana, and then I ended up in Fort Collins. So we moved to Fort Collins, and I had spent the previous summer reading Atlas Shrugged again. And,
Nice.
and I read it from cover to cover in like 3 days. No sleep. I didn't cook. I just was reading. And I got to Fort Collins, and that was right after Milton and Rose Friedman did their Free to Choose series, and which was on, I think they aired it on PBS, and I watched it, and then we had a small broadside called The Triangle Review, and some guy from Fort Collins, some very Christian guy, decided to explain to the world what it was that Rose and Milton Friedman really meant. And in my opinion, he got it all wrong. So they ran his version one week, and then the next week they ran my rebuttal, which took up the entire center section of the paper. And after it came out, Neil's wife at the time called me and said, hey, you sound like a libertarian. Why don't you come to one of our meetings? And I'm like, what the hell is a libertarian? I don't know what you're talking about. And so she said, well, if you want to know, my husband just wrote this book called The Probability Brooch. And our meeting is going to be in a week and it'll be at this place. And why don't you read the book and then decide if you want to come and talk to us? So I read The Probability Brooch and I went to the meeting, and then there's a lot of history after that I'm not going to share. But we ended up, everybody around us in the Libertarian Party ended up getting divorced. And then we all kind of reconstituted in different, politics and marriage, it's a rough thing.
Congratulations, Matt, on that question.
Okay.
I'm telling you, my best question of the night. Rylla's like, I don't know. I thought this was about me. Now my mom's getting this embarrassing question.
No,
I'm just going to hold my cat here. I don't know what else to do.
It's
Yeah.
for the
Can
best.
you X-nay this guy? But that's truly interesting. And it's also interesting that people can read the same book but have different viewpoints on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's always fascinated me, because when I'm even reading the Lando books, they hit me differently than other people, and different people have different opinions on them, and they're all correct because they're all coming from their own center, their own opinion. But that's so interesting. That's how that whole thing met. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. The very first thing we did after we met, they were having a meeting to decide where they should hold the next Colorado convention. And the very first thing we did was have an argument. So that's kind of how things were. It was never easy, but it was fun. So if you guys don't have it, if you have other questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. But if you don't, I'm stealing her thunder and I'm going to step away for a while.
You're helping.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah.
It's very nice to meet you guys. Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Here's what's amazing. Here's what's amazing, guys. Like, you don't think about this stuff, but when I went into that used bookstore and I got this, it never jumps into your head that, hey, 30 years from now, we're going to be on something called a live stream on something called YouTube, talking to the wife and daughter of the author. You don't even think about that, but it's just amazing that it's happening. So, yes.
And I absolutely love your mom. Thank you for sharing her.
Yeah, she's
You two
awesome.
seem very close, and I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that.
My mom is absolutely my best friend and has been since I was like 8 years old.
Wow,
great.
that's nice.
That
is
is great. I love it. I love it.
I'm very
Check this out, though. I found this interview from an old Star Wars website back in the day. I think this interview is from like the late 90s, but here's what he's talking about Buffy here. It says, "It makes me very happy that you like Buffy Ra. He was a pleasure to create. I enjoyed writing him, and I regret very much that I don't own him and can't use him. Physically, I have always been interested in marine life and was intrigued by the deep sea brittle star. That was my model for Buffy Ra. As a character, he's very much a piece with some of my other wisecracking sidekicks. I guess he's more like Osam in Forge of the Elders, which has the very last word in the 600-page epic than anyone else." So that answers my question. I was going to ask, are there any other characters in his other books that are like Buffy? And it sounds like there is. So that's pretty cool. But what's funny, last night we had a live stream on our one of my other shows, Indecent Behavior, and we were talking about these lawsuits that the former Marvel creators, most of them have passed away, but their estates are trying to sue for like ownership of Spider-Man and stuff, because there's a obscure clause in the Copyright Act of 1976 that says after 35 or 40 years, you can try to claim ownership of the characters you created. So it'll be interesting what happens with a lot of these Star Wars characters, What's
You know
up,
what?
Matt?
Go ahead, Matt.
Go ahead, Laura.
Okay, I was today because I've been resting off and on today, so I was watching some YouTube videos and stuff, and I came across one interview with George Lucas, and he was one of the people who helped design that clause to so that someone can't take and recreate your character after you have passed away and stuff. So that you guys were talking about last night. So,
And
right.
I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, but Disney's going to win that. They're
going to win.
They're going to win
that.
They are brutal. They are mean. They are cutthroat. They made their living off of borrowing from public domain.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have a stranglehold to make sure no one else gets it. They have the money to back it up. There's already a precedent. Help me, Laura. I can't talk right now.
Predecessors?
Well, there's a precedent set.
Precedents.
In an earlier court case with DC and Superman.
Yeah, but here's the difference there, Matt.
And I know. Go ahead.
2001, they signed a deal with the families to say, hey, you can do this and that. That's the difference. But you're still right. At the very least, they're going to give them a low six-figure settlement that we'll never know what the exact amount was, and then everyone will move on. But yeah,
they're going to slit their throat too.
But point is, I'm glad that he was able to take that character and put it in something else. That's awesome. And I believe Forge of the Elders, he won a Prometheus Award for that. I think I saw on the page there.
I think so. You have more information than I do because you're actually looking at a computer.
But $2 really quick, guys, from Biggles Metz. He says nothing, but later he says, hi. Thanks, Biggles. Top tier member on my
out of the playoff.
Let's give him
want to hear me really rant.
Let's give him a little thank you here. What should I play? I guess we like Star Trek. We can do a quick Star Trek one.
I don't know what to say. Well, you could say thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate that, Biggles. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, sorry. Your dad was a big Star Trek fan.
Mm-hmm.
Was he a fan of just the original series, or did he just love it all?
He loved it all. So actually, when I was born, I was like this big once, I guess. They brought me home from the hospital and burnt out a little black and white TV, just playing VHS copies of original series Laserdisc, I want to say.
Wow.
Just night and day for months and months.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
And then,
I used to record it off TV and rewatch it like on Kodak VHS tapes that you could record.
Not the VHS.
Well, so we would do that. That came later. We watched Next Generation in first run, and Voyager and Deep Space Nine in first run, and then came Enterprise. And we did exactly that. It was, DVR before DVR was a thing. We would set up a VHS to record. And then I was figure skating at the time. So we would usually be on the way to the ice rink. And it would record while we were there. And then we'd come back home and watch it.
I'm glad he put you before Star Trek. I want to say I'll do that to my little girls when Survivor is on.
Survivor. Wow.
But that's my big show. But that's awesome. Now, did he get to watch any of the newer shows like Discovery or anything like that?
Oh, that reaction!
I know.
Tim is a big fan, by the way.
Yeah, I can tell.
I don't think I know that people were talking to him about Picard. And I don't think he ever watched any of that. I don't think he really spent much time watching anything new over the last few years. He just mostly watched Longmire and NCIS over and over and over, and Blue Bloods before it got woke.
I watched several episodes of the first season of Longmire, and I liked it. I just never finished it. So
yeah, I haven't started it, but people tell me to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
My dad sure loved it. My mom loves it.
Okay.
Longmire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really quick here from Baron Orman Tag. By the way, this is a character from the Marvel Comics in the late 70s. And that icon, that avatar he has there is actually a fast food restaurant in the Star Wars universe, the Biscuit Baron. $5. He says, great to have Rylla with you all. Thank you, Rylla, for sharing your memories. And I am a huge Star Trek fan as well as a huge Star Wars fan. Thank you, Baron Ormantag. And happy birthday. I think today or yesterday was his birthday. So
happy
have a happy
Happy
one.
birthday!
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah,
Aaron,
it's
we'll get Stig to pop out of a cake for you.
we don't want him to do that. We don't want him to do that. So here's something really interesting, like in this old interview, and then the one that our friend Dennis Pellegrom at StarWarsInterviews.com did just a couple of years ago. He was talking about how working with Lucasfilm, not Disney, obviously, but Lucasfilm wasn't a very good experience. I guess there were some royalty issues and all that type of stuff. I think this one here, it says something about like experience with Star Wars itself. What is it like to be a part of the Star Wars phenomenon? And he says, I can't honestly say, aside from keeping me alive during a very slim period, the books haven't impacted my life at all that much. After some unpleasant experiences Brian Daley, Han Solo books author, my editor deliberately kept me away from Lucasfilm Limited and its rather sordid corporate politics. So I've been more or less completely out of the loop and probably happier that way. So were there royalty issues there like Disney is doing now with Alan Dean Foster and many other authors? Do you know?
I gather that was some of it. A lot of it was really just their, bureaucracy, like my mom was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't enjoy the experience. He didn't particularly enjoy working with agents of any publisher or.
Okay.
He was very much his own man.
Yeah.
You were saying they had to work out what he could use, what planets, everything had to
which could be capitalized. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want to let him use like anything actually Star Wars, and he kind of browbeat them into it. Like, all right, but you have to capitalize it. Okay, I want to capitalize these other alien species from another place. Well, no, you can't do that. You made that.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah,
but that's very interesting. That's very interesting because we knew before 1994 that the continuity, they weren't really squaring the continuity away as they did strictly after 1994 in Lucasfilm or Star Wars and stuff. But we knew that they still were interested in keeping some type of continuity and wanted some characters to be out there. And, so that's a very interesting thing to see or hear about the experience of the early novelists with the company. So.
Yeah, and I think they first kind of organized the licensing department around 87, then they reorganized it like in 94 in that one article that we've cited so many times. So before then, there's no telling who he and others were dealing with, Brian Daley and whoever else. Probably someone that had left the company, because I think they treated authors pretty decently in the 90s and 2000s. And then, of course, Disney took over and they don't treat them well. They got rid of the good ones. And then they hire these hacks now to write these terrible, awful, vacuous novels that just have no soul, in my opinion.
Just the novels?
The new ones. Oh, well, hold on. I didn't want to bring this up, but I know that here's the thing. Like this panel here, me and Alora and Matt, we don't like Disney Star Wars. We just don't. We think it dishonors the original, all that stuff. And when they took these books and everything in the expanded universe on April 25th, 2014, and they said, hey, this is being discarded. Screw you, fans that have been into this for 35 years, more than 35 years. That wasn't good, and it wasn't respectful of the fans. And they just did it so that J.J. Abrams' ego could be stroked. So we don't like Disney Star Wars. But do you like anything they put out? I know we had some private conversations about that from The Force Awakens and on. Like, what do you like?
I can completely lose the last trilogy. I don't consider it canon, like my dad said, Canon is established not by somebody saying it's so, but by history, by how history feels about subject matter. I enjoyed Rogue One. I thought it was a fun movie. They were still working, within the time frame, so they had their constraints laid out for them. I enjoyed it, especially the end, just the drama of that one phenomenal scene that I don't know. Are we still doing spoilers?
The hallway scene is what you're talking about.
The Vader scene.
Mm-hmm.
Just such beauty. And I enjoyed Solo mostly because of Lando.
Well, I will say this, that, when I went to see it, and they mentioned that, at first I was like, that's awesome. And then I'm like, wait a minute, is it really awesome? Because they're just trying to dangle something in front of us. You know what I mean? And that's the part of it I didn't like. And then for them to like not actually use the right droid and stuff like that, that's what really made me mad about it. But
that's why I never asked my dad to watch that movie.
I bet.
I've watched it with my mom, but the droid is the whole reason. I was like, no, he doesn't need to see this.
Oh, that was so bad. Yes.
Good call.
Yes. Embarrassing. Like
Totally.
it was the opposite of Vuffy Raw for sure. But yeah, why'd they even do that movie? They could have done something that didn't involve a main character, just something else.
As if Han Solo wasn't young in A New Hope.
Well,
right.
Well, that's one of my favorite quotes. Someone says, they've already made a young Han Solo movie. It's called A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yes.
But I think I will say this about Ron Howard, the director. I've said this before. I think he's the one. I mean, Solo didn't do well in theaters. And of course, that's what kind of took a hit. But Ron Howard, instead of blaming the fans, we're all about blaming fans now. If you don't like it, then it must be your fault, not mine.
Yeah.
And Ron Howard's response was very good. It was like, well, I thought we made a good film. I'm sorry people didn't like it. And to be honest, that's fair. He's the only director I've heard talk like that out of the new Star Wars director. If you don't like the new trilogy, J.J. Abrams will call you toxic. It's all your fault. Ryan
Johnson
will say it's all his fault. No, I'm kidding. he'll blame you and rub it in your face that you don't like it. And you're because you hate people or whatever.
Yeah, and it's your theory. Your theory sucks.
He'll result to name calling rather than just saying, well, sorry, I didn't like. I mean, like Ron Howard's response was beautiful, but no one else in Hollywood has any brains to give that response. It's all about blaming fans.
Yeah.
Which I never understood. If a customer says they don't enjoy the service, you just kick them out of your store. How long do they stay in business?
Well, I mean, that's like the skin suit in action. Like, why don't you love me? I look like the thing you love.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Fantastic analogy. Mr. Dan Campbell for $20. Thanks for honoring Neil Expanded University. No, thank you, sir, for the $20. And this is our pleasure. I mean, again, thinking back 30 years, just not even being able to fathom being on here discussing this stuff. It's just amazing to think about. So yeah, thanks, Dan. Appreciate the $20. Yeah, so I know that we were talking about that backstage, and I'm glad we brought it up because at first you get excited, and I think that's one of the things that helped me get over these member berries. Like, first after you hear it, it's like, whoa, it's cool, and then you start thinking, wait a minute, is that really honoring something, or is it just using it right to try and draw people in, and not really? If you don't do it correctly, if you don't do it the way that it was originally intended, then are you honoring it, or are you stealing it to try and get someone's attention? And I felt like that's what they were doing. And I didn't like Donald Glover as Lando, so I didn't. I'm sorry.
No,
a lot of people did, but
no, I might be with you on that. I didn't really care for the choice either, but it's hard to give them, recast them
Mhm.
when you're so used to, the original cast.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to say that I didn't like that, I'm thinking that way. I just didn't feel like he represented him like I thought Lando should have been represented.
Right.
Yes. So.
By the way, that's an awesome shirt you have on, Rylla, that Boba Fett
thank you.
shirt. I just noticed it, so and that's comic book Boba Fett too, so that's even more awesome.
Yeah, I think this is the only Star Wars shirt I own. I buy them for my boyfriend every Christmas.
Nice.
But I somehow
borrow your shirt. No. Yeah. So
Nice.
Rylla, so I have a question for you. So, what did you think about the Falcon then, since we knew it originally came from Lando and stuff? So what did you think about that relationship between Lando and the Falcon, and then him losing it to Han?
I mean, I liked the story.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like how they handled it in the movie, and I will give you that I've only seen it twice.
Okay.
Once in theaters and once like a couple years ago. I wasn't fond of how they handled it, and I don't even remember why.
Mhm.
I found a lot of it pretty cringy. I'm in love with the Millennium Falcon. I think it's one of the most amazing designs. And could have been one of the most beautifully handled like stories, because it's a steed. There's a majesty about a ship.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it could have been more beloved and more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they just kind of used it as a prop.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think that's a great explanation with that when it comes to the Solo movie. Now, I don't know if you ever read like the Han Solo trilogy or anything about Han Solo in Star Wars, but I think if you ever get a chance to read that and stuff, I think maybe you'll feel that the Falcon has been handled a little bit better in that as well, especially how Han treats it and how their banter goes back and forth between Lando and Han about the Falcon. There's a lot of like history between Falcon and Han and Lando within the whole EU. So, yeah.
Good. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that something that special should be treated as special.
Right. Yeah.
But then again, I'm that's kind of how I feel about the whole Star Wars canon. It's such a special property, and it's so dear to a lot of people's hearts. And I feel like that was just sort of sacrificed on an altar over the last few
big
years.
time. Mm-hmm.
Like, it's taking the whole hero narrative, which is such an important part of the culture of Western civilization, and just turning it into like destroying it, ripping it asunder.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, we at some point we're going to have a debate on this. We kind of did like a few weeks ago on a stream about George selling it to Disney, and I have to say that it wasn't a good decision on his part, and I feel like it's like, why didn't he know better? Because he knew about this company, and you could say, oh, he was lied to or whatever, but there were so many better choices if he wanted to get rid of it. And I'm not saying, oh, give it to his kids, but I don't know, give it to like Fox or something and retain some kind of creative control if he saw something crazy happening. But I just think it was a really, really bad decision on his part to sell it to that soulless company.
Well, and Disney owns Fox now too. Like Disney Disney is the octopus.
Yes.
They own everything.
If you read Bob Iger's autobiography, which I know not many people are interested in, but I did read it. Bob Iger is generally he gets along well with people. He is a people person. He had a long-standing relationship with George way back in the early 90s, and kept that relationship with him over the years. That's why Disney and Lucasfilm had this, they had several contracts to do Star Tours and other stuff and licensing. And when he started to feel that, and George really when the prequels got hate, the internet was invented, and they could hide the morning newspaper from George, but they couldn't hide the internet from George. And so when King George sees the internet, and sees that people are not going crazy about his movies, then he gets his feelings hurt. And then, like a spoiled child, he grabs his toys and goes, okay, no one can play with them then. That, remember, after episode 3, no more movies. It's like Seinfeld, no soup for you.
Yeah.
And so
that was funny.
he takes all his toys and he goes away, goes home and grumps inside of a super rich mansion that Star Wars fans paid for. So Bob understands his frustration. But Bob does what, I'll be honest, any of us would do, is like, well, if you're considerate, because in his frustration at the Brown Derby in Disney World, George expressed that some days he just feels like he should just get rid of it and just let, because fans were like, do this, do that, do this. And he wanted to be done with it. And Bob hopped on that opportunity. He says, well, George, would you trust us with it? And unfortunately, Jim Henson started this thing where he entrusted his characters to Walt Disney because he knew they would live on forever. And back then, he trusted Disney to do the right thing. And so this whole idea about maintaining your legacy, Bob hopped on. And George knew the reason Jim had sold. And so little by little, he chipped away at George before George finally agreed to sell it. And now Bob Iger makes the argument. Everyone says that they stole Disney for a song. He said, actually, we paid over what it was valued at. BS, man.
Yeah.
BS. You could make billion. They sold it for $4 billion. He said it was actually only worth $2 or something. I was like, whatever.
No.
If there was a bidding war, it would have sold for 8 or 10. Okay, or more. Everyone would have gone after that franchise. But Bob says, oh no, we appraised it. It was only worth 2.8. But George wanted the same deal we paid for Marvel, which was or he wanted more than what we paid for Marvel. And so we offered it to him. And I was like, okay, whatever. But Bob took advantage of, one of George's hissy fits. He didn't like that the fans didn't like him. And he was upset they didn't like his product. And so then in a, just fit of frustration, he sold it, which he regrets. I mean, obviously he's let that slip several times in previous interviews.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is now. But yes, Disney is like Pac-Man. They're gobbling up all the pellets here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
What was that quote? You get what you effing deserve? Something like that.
Yeah, Joker.
Yeah.
You get what you fucking deserve. Yeah, exactly.
And the thing about George, with all his disgruntlement with the fans, it just happened to be with the prequels. The fans were still buying his stuff. The fans were still there. The whole company prior to Disney, and we've talked about this before in multiple streams, but it was a different company. They spoke to their fans in the chat rooms of StarWars.com. You'd have, the big CEOs, the bigwigs coming down from Lucasfilm, chatting with the fans, answering their questions. They really had this connection to them. When Disney came, and you can ask anyone who was connected to Disney back then, Lucasfilm back then, who isn't now, they said it was a complete 180 overnight.
Right.
Pablo Hidalgo, totally different person when that happened. Everyone else turns, and it was just so different. And now it's like, we're better than you. We know better than you. You need to like what we say. You need to watch what we like. You need to praise it. And if you don't agree, and this is that dangerous philosophy we were talking about earlier, if you don't agree, then you're the toxic person. You're the phobic person. You're the insert blank thing. We resort to name calling and fan blaming when in truth, they're not delivering something that fans are happy with. They're not doing something because you say, well, we can't just make everything fan service. No, you can't. And you can't make every fan happy. But when a vast majority of people say, yeah, this wasn't good, maybe, just maybe, you need to go, yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
So you can do better.
Oh, but it's fan fault.
Yeah.
That's right. Here's something interesting. This is Star Wars Adventure Journal, and it was like a quarterly book. They called it like a magazine, but it was a book that West End Games put out. This is from 1995, Volume 5. And they were talking about releasing something that never got released. And they did source books for every, book series or whatever. And they were going to do a Lando Calrissian Adventures source book. Now, here's what's really interesting about it. It says this is Bill Smith, one of the top guys at West End at the time. He was going over projects and they were interviewing him. And he said, blah, blah, blah. He's writing, it's going to be very, very interesting. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. The author of the source book, Brian Thomas, communicates extensively with L. Neil Smith, who is the original author of the novels. It's going to have an authentic feel to it. So that's so awesome that he was apparently still communicating with people 12 years after the novels came out. I just like the fact that, even though there might have been some ruffled feathers, that he at least wanted to preserve and have some input into the books that he created. And that just tells you what kind of guy he was. I like that a lot.
That's so interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because that would have been, what? So 12 years after, that'd be about 1995?
95 is the date on the side of this book right here. So, yeah.
So
very cool.
That would have been, I was only like 5 years old. So I had no idea that he was still in communication with any Star Wars people at that point. That's very cool. I'm glad to hear that some people actually cared enough to keep him in.
Yes.
Yeah. West End Games really held the candle when no one else cared.
Correct. Yeah.
And they cared about all that stuff. And I would have loved, and I don't know if your dad's like Tolkien and left like 1 billion notes about all his writings, because any notes on ideas of the Lando trilogy he only had 9 weeks. So, probably what we see is what we get. But with these source books, he would have had the opportunity to expand the background and history behind his novels, which would have been interesting.
Yeah,
that would have been interesting. He really was not a note keeper. More's the pity. One thing that I'm attempting to do is, I'm a writer too, and he left some unfinished
I was going to go
work.
into that, Rylla. Not to cut you off, but I was going to go into that. I want to talk about that next.
Cool. We can wait for that then. But no, he was not a note keeper, and I wish that I had some of that stuff. Most of what we have is in his old correspondence with Dave Nolan near the founding of the Libertarian Party and stuff. So that's about what we got at this point.
That reminds me of another question I have here. Did he ever get a thank you note or congratulations by anyone at Lucasfilm when they were done? Some authors say they have. I was just wondering.
Let me ask my mom.
Yeah.
Did he ever get a congratulation or any kind of messaging from Lucasfilm when the books were finished?
Not as far as I know.
No, not as far as she knows.
That's a shame. That's a shame because he did an excellent job.
Yeah, he was always complaining about Lucasfilm when I was a kid.
That's too bad. And that's on Lucasfilm or Del Rey. It's on them for giving such a bad experience. But there are other authors who have the same experience. Margaret Weiss, who, as some of y'all know, was going to write a book, and it came apart at the hinges. She has no love lost for working with that company.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about your work. I know that we were chatting about it in emails and stuff. So what have you done? Where are you going with it? What is it? If you would tell us as much as you can. You don't have to reveal more than you want.
Well, do you want to start with the work I'm currently doing?
Sure.
Okay. So the work I'm currently doing actually is my dad left some unfinished business.
You still there?
Just froze. Hold on. Stuck in a time warp.
She is. Come back.
Hey.
You still there?
Are we back? I think we're back.
Yeah.
All right. What a strange time for that to happen.
Yeah.
Illuminati. So my dad left some unfinished business. He had 3 books in the works, one of which was in with an editor at Arc Manor, Phoenix Pick, and 2 of which I don't think have seen any editorial yet. So I've actually completed the edits on the first book, which is I am not in Carbonite. Which is Ares. It's a sequel to the New Family saga, which starts with Palace and Ceres. So I completed the edit in that, and that is in with the publisher again. Arc Manor, Shahid Mahmood is his name, and he's a great guy, and I'm really looking forward to it. It should be coming out probably in the next few months. It depends on the editor's schedule.
Yeah, that series looked interesting too, and just so anyone out there doesn't know, Pallas and Ceres are the real names of some of the larger asteroids in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. So that sounds like a really cool story, actually.
He was very proud of that series, and actually, Pallas is what he would have been writing at the time that the source guide thing you were telling us about was coming out.
Nice.
Because that was in 95. And then he had another work in progress, which was also part of the New Family saga, and it's called Rosalie's World, and that actually had some of the most special moments of the last few years, I guess, for us. He was working on that, and I was working on my current work in progress. And we would sit in his office of a night, and he would read what he'd written, and I would read what I'd written. And my mom was reading from John Galt's speech, actually, at the time, at the end of Atlas Shrugged.
Nice.
And they were just super special nights. So
that's awesome. And that's kind of what Matt was asking earlier on in the stream. Did he ever run stuff by you guys, But that's so awesome. Yeah, I love, being in a writing family. That would be so cool. So I'm glad you got to share that moment.
Very special.
But yeah,
Very much.
We can certainly update the description of the stream later with links to all this stuff when it comes out, so that when people search this live stream, because I don't know if you know this, but once you've had a live stream, it becomes like a video on your channel. So people are searching for whatever they're looking for, L. Neil Smith or your name, and they'll find this, and then they'll see the description, and they can find the link to the books. We can certainly do that for sure later on. Yeah. And by the way, when you were talking about reading this stuff to each other, at the very end of this stream, I want to read this awesome remark that I found earlier tonight on the lneilsmith.org website. It's just amazing. It's very impactful for sure. Do you guys have any other questions for Rylla?
Yes. I want to hear.
I don't want to hog everything, Matt and Alora.
You're not hogging. Oh, wait. Alora, have you have any questions?
I was going to ask, because we know that the first time we seen Lando Calrissian, we seen Empire Strikes Back. So I would like to know, what was your first impression of him watching the movie and then watching Return of the Jedi?
Wow. That would have been when I was approximately 2 years old. So Lando, of course, was just kind of was just a part of my life, and I think in some ways I always just assumed that Lando was something that my dad had made, rather than something that had been made and my dad added to him.
Yeah.
I guess my first impression was, well, what a handsome scoundrel. But apart from that, I couldn't really tell you.
Okay. All right, and I have one more. So, who is your favorite Star Wars character outside of probably Lando?
Wow. Way to put me on the spot.
I do that a lot. Two people.
I like it.
What about? Well, I was to say, what about Star Trek? If you want to think about the Star Wars answer, who's your favorite Star Trek character?
Either Data or Worf.
Wow, good choices. Good choices.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Nice choices.
I like sort of the different eye on the world that they both have. They have it in a very different way. But I was just watching an episode of Next Generation where Worf ends up helping Keiko deliver her baby.
Oh,
because,
yeah, that was the episode Disaster. Yeah.
Yes. And it was just so fascinating to see this character interface with this situation that he's only, trained for in some exercise, some hologram simulation.
Yes.
So that was cool. As to my favorite Star Wars character, I have to bring a bit of personal history into this, non-Lando related. I put on a production of 1776 7 years ago. It's a musical, if you're not familiar with it.
No, we know. Yeah.
And as part of that, I went to my favorite used bookstore, Old Firehouse Books in downtown Fort Collins. And I said, is there any way you can help us with this? And they said, we can't give you money, but can we use your theater company for our Star Wars Day production? That we want to do an event. Sure. So they hand me Ian Desher's The Empire Striketh Back. And I don't know if you've read that, but it's like Shakespearean Star Wars.
Yeah, I've seen it on the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they handed me this, and they're like, we want to do like some scenes from this. Would you be interested? And so I had my boyfriend direct it, and he played Han, and I played Leia, and our friend Antonio was Luke, and our friend Luke was Obi-Wan.
Nice.
And it was just... So I think I developed a new appreciation for Leia, actually, during that whole period. I always thought her motivations were kind of fuzzy in the films, but actually, like, interacting with them made her more of an interesting character to me.
Yeah, so immersing a cosplayer like that really got you into the head of her. Okay, that's nice. I like that. And then you said the bookstore. I'm trying to remember. It's been a few years since I've been back to Fort Collins to visit some family that lives there. You said Old Town. Is it down Old Town or is it down College? I don't remember.
It's in Old Town. It's off Linden or Walnut.
Okay. Yeah.
So like near Jefferson.
Yeah. Okay. I know exactly where that's at then. All right.
You let slip that you're into theater, so I'm interested. What other shows have you done?
Actually, I was mostly a techie. I did a lot of tech. I was an assistant stage manager, but there wasn't anybody for me to assist, so I was basically a stage manager for a long time for a dinner theater. I got to drive like a personnel lift on stage in a bikini. That was super fun.
Wow. Nice.
That was for Rock of Ages. That was a good time. I loved that.
Whoa. Whoa. That would be an incredible production to do.
Right.
I just recently worked the fly for my wife's play that she was directing.
What play?
Disaster is what it was.
But not the TNG episode, right, Matt?
No. It's a 70s thing. We got to drop a giant disco ball on someone. I got to throw a dummy off the rail. It took two people to do it, but it was a lot of fun. And a good stage manager goes a long way. I directed a show, and I was very fortunate that the pandemic had shut down so many colleges because I was able to get all this amazing help that I'm still in contact with today. And I can't tell you, I remember the man who built my sets is an old friend of mine, and he's a professor of theater at a college here in the area. And I remember when he heard this, stage managers, they got to have everything set. They've got to know what's coming out, what props, what set, what backdrop. I mean, everything, and mark it with tape. I mean, we're talking, there's a lot that goes in on this. And they are constantly right there following along with the script, snapping out here's what, 15 minutes ahead of time, get set for this, get ready for this. And I remember that that girl, she was high school, and she was popping, just bossing people this way and that way. And the guy goes, "Where did you find her?" I was like, "Well, she's at this high school." "She's high school? I thought she was college." I went, "No." He went, "Tell her to come to my college," because he's like, that's awesome. So it goes a long way. Tech is really awesome. I've gotten to work several different areas with tech before. So that's neat. I didn't know you had a theater background.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. I did a lot of choir in school. Ended up trying to start a band for a while, and that was not a thing.
Bands go. I have
That's
another
how you
fun
find
question. Oh yeah, I have a fun question. My dad's guilty pleasures are going to Waffle House every Sunday night, and if he goes out to eat, one of his favorite fast foods is a Whopper. Both of these options disgust me, but those were his. Those are my dad's guilty pleasures. Did your dad have anything like that, where he's like, "Let's go get a whatever"? Did he have favorites?
My dad, the type 2 diabetic, I could not get him to stop drinking Coke and eating chocolate and buying Twinkies and cupcakes. Yeah.
He liked everything.
Neither of us could get him to stop. Oh yeah.
He gets all the good stuff there.
Right.
It's all the good stuff.
And he loved he especially loved like Red Hots and hot tamales.
Oh God. Mm-hmm.
That's so awesome, because I gave up Sour Patch Kids about 3 months ago when we had a weight loss challenge. I lost about 15 pounds. My goal was 20. But anyway, just stopping Sour Patch Kids probably did 10 pounds of it. So yeah, I'd sit right here as I'm working, because I sit here and I work on my work from home days, and just Sour Patch Kids for 2 hours straight. And that's not good. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's along the same vein. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was going to ask what about hers now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What about mine?
Yeah.
What's your guilty pleasures, I guess you could say, when it comes to food or whatever?
I'm not so much a guilty pleasures person. I work for a junk food store, actually. I'm a delivery driver for the local calzone shop. So
wow.
So I always have junk food that I can eat. If I were to call it a guilty pleasure, I like buying really expensive steaks.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I bought. Go ahead, Tim.
I bought 3 different kinds of steaks on Saturday night, and it was awesome because I just wanted a bunch of steak. So I told my wife I'm going to go get some steaks, and I had the whole grill covered in steaks. So, yes, fun stuff.
Have you ever had Wagyu?
No. My son. You have to order it online, right?
You can get it at Walmart.
Really?
They have Australian Wagyu at Walmart for like $19 a pound or something like that. It's really pretty reasonable for like some of the best steak you've ever had.
Yeah, my son ordered some online about a year ago for just him and his friends at their apartment, and he grilled it, and I'm like, well, how much was this? And he's like, you don't want to know, Dad. So yeah. Wow. He likes the finer things in life, and now that he's in the military, then he won't get them. So
well, thank him for his service.
Oh, absolutely. He's having a blast. Yeah, I'm so glad it worked out for him because I was a little bit worried, but he likes the structure and he needs the structure. So
Laura, what about you?
My guilty pleasure?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see here.
Oh, you got to share now. We've all been sharing.
I have a lot of guilty pleasures, but the one thing, and this probably might maybe, I like to eat Nutella out of a jar. That's my guilty pleasure.
It's fantastic.
Hang on a minute. Hold on.
Please do that.
Okay, we took care of that problem.
Oh,
That's wrong.
Savagery.
Wow, he does not approve of that.
I do eat peanut butter out of a jar, just like with a spoon or a knife.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'll do raspberry
Good stuff.
jam if I want something sweet. That's my jam.
Yeah, that's your jam. Literally your jam.
That's correct.
So when I eat pancakes, I don't do maple syrup. I've never liked maple syrup. I put probably raspberry or blueberry syrup. So yeah.
Nice.
Interesting.
I recently had agave nectar on pancakes for the first time, and that was really good too.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'll have to try that.
I like more butter on my pancakes than syrup. So like give me the butter and then a little bit of syrup. So I'd rather have like a lot of butter than syrup and just let that all melt in. Like, yum. Okay, I want pancakes now, but
small time. I am a soda fiend. That is true. So it would be some of those sodas. Of course, my Pib Extra, and my bang.
RC probably.
I can only do one a day, if that.
Nice.
I miss Red Bull.
I try to curb it. Say what?
You
I
miss
miss
it?
Red Bull. I gave up Red Bull this summer, and I've been drinking Red Bull since I was 12 years old, and I decided to give it up like the most stressful summer of my life. And I'm like, why? Why did I do this to myself?
I can't drink it because of my heart. So yeah.
Tim, I can't. I'm like a gremlin. I can't drink it after 4, or else I'm going to be up all night. So I try to.
Multiplies. No.
I try. Oh gosh, I was in Phoenix, and I thought it was 7:00, and the guy gave me one, and we were going to be up for a few hours late. And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll drink one now." It was actually 10:30. When I looked at the clock, I was halfway done with that sucker. I was like, "Oh!" And they went, "What's up?" I went, "I don't think I'm going to bed tonight." And they were laughing. I said, "No, I'm serious." And I was up all night. I remember I went back to the hotel, started running on the treadmill like 3:30 in the morning. Security guard going, "Who is up in the middle of the night running on the treadmill on a Friday night?" Me, come on, let's do this. Oh, I was, man. I was like, I'm not going to bed tonight. So I gotta be careful doing it with sodas in general. I try to be like you. I'm trying to cut down a lot, one a day, and if not even any, if I can do that.
Paranorman Tech Jolt was back a couple of years ago because there was a Dollar General not too far from where I was working, and they had it. It was out on the shelf, not like in a cooler, and I bought as many as I could. So, yeah, that probably predates Rylla. That's old stuff right there.
Caffeinated drinks, yeah.
I gave up soda like 15 years ago. So, yeah. So
how are you still alive?
I know, right?
Oh my gosh, I couldn't do that.
It was hard. It was difficult at the beginning, but I made it through.
So to touch on what kind of Matt asked earlier, we pick up a lot of things from our parents, and I have this library in my den with not just Star Wars books, but tons of like science fiction books, even bad science fiction. I have like the entire Mission Earth series from L. Ron Hubbard, because I just think it's important that we preserve. We preserve books and stuff. So I have tons of science fiction, of mystery, of classics, whatever you want to call it. So one of the things that got me into that, my father would do nothing but read. He would come home from work and clean up, and then probably eat dinner, and then he's either going to bed or going to like his easy chair and he's reading a book. I think he read like a book on average like every 5 days, mostly science fiction. And that's why I like to collect it so much. I have a lot of the Asimov books, Heinlein, all that stuff. So you kind of touched on this earlier about writing, but did you pick up any other hobbies or whatever from your father? Is that what got you into writing and stuff like that? Because you wanted to be like him, and that's what I was thinking of. And my father passed away in 2002. So especially after that happened, I rounded up all the books I could because they were on shelves all over my parents' house and stuff. And a lot of them I have in there in the library. So other than just writing, did you pick up anything else from him?
My dad was a musician. He spent like all of his high school years in various bands, like bluegrass bands and folk bands. And it took me a long time to appreciate that kind of musical aesthetic. But I sure appreciate music, and we used to go to like bluegrass jams at this local pub. It's called Avogadro's Number. And we used to go there. Yeah, we used to go there like, I think it was Wednesday nights. They did a bluegrass jam from like 8 until ? And it was always so good. And I learned a lot, and I picked up guitar eventually. I put it down, which was the right thing to do. But but yeah, I was glad to have that to share with my dad. He wrote a lot of music, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he never really recorded anything, released anything, but there are at least a few of his songs that my mom and I remember well enough that we're planning to, get them out there so people can hear them.
That's awesome.
It's there, and it's funny stuff too. He wrote a lot of parodies and a lot of because of course he did. He had such a sense of humor. He was always dry.
Yeah, I'm sure they were full of a lot of dry humor, because that's what I get when I read his interviews is, just a lot of dry humor. And that's how my father was as well. Like, never really smiled or laughed a lot, but he was still funny somehow at the same time. So
that's funny because my dad, like at home, this sounds so vulgar, but I might as well contrast it, right? You have dry humor and then you have wet humor, if you will. And I feel like at home he was much more on the other side. I feel like he had a sense of humor that he used in his writing and that he used like with the world at large. And then at home, like all bets were off. Like I thought fart jokes were the funniest thing in the world, and I still do, and largely it's because of him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, sounds like my family too. They like that kind of humor, fart jokes, all of that. I mean, we're always laughing at something, and sometimes people look at us like, "What is wrong with them?" We're like, "You just don't understand, I guess."
Yeah.
Good times.
For sure. But yeah, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'd like to read this passage. So there was a Flash animation thing from September 2001 called the Atlanta Declaration, and he had these remarks, and this, I don't know, this is just so poetic and profound, but he said, "Let the hysterics foam and froth. It keeps them from doing more disgusting things. That individuals have rights, not privileges, isn't just an idea. It's a fact of objective reality. Let the hysterics be afraid. It's time for them to be afraid. To withhold the truth because you're worried about the reaction of the weakest, stupidest, or most ignorant or corrupt among us, especially when that truth is exactly what we need to set us free, would be an act of cowardice or insanity. It would mean that we deserve to be where we are now instead of where we aspire to be. It would be the act of a slave. And I think you see a lot of that playing out
Hmm.
in this very day, in the last year and a half. So that's I loved that. I gotta put that on some kind of something with a nice font and stuff, and make like a banner out of it, because that's amazing. That's just great stuff.
It sure is.
Did he talk that way a lot? Because that's just good stuff.
He definitely had a way with words.
Yes.
He had a massive vocabulary, and he knew exactly what words to use to drive the knife in and twist it if he needed to.
Mm-hmm.
He my house is full of encyclopedias and dictionaries and thesauruses, whatever the word.
Thesauri, I guess, right?
Yeah, maybe. The sauropodem.
Yeah.
So he had this just like big brain energy, like all the time, and it drove me crazy when I was a kid. And now that I'm not a kid anymore, now that I'm not a teenager going, oh, Dad, you're embarrassing, I realize how with it and how pointed my dad's intellect was.
Yeah.
He really knew what the F was going on.
Yeah.
And he tried to tell people, and people didn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
Look at we're in a state of people not listening right now.
Yes.
Are they listening to what is being? It's like almost like the media today. And I'm not trying to turn this political, but it's almost like media today is like the hypnotist. Like we're getting hypnotized, and we're hearing these rhetoric over and over again. Even when they change the narrative, people still down that tunnel vision, and they can't let it go. So,
well, it's like what my political panelist partner, Lost Jedi 22 Greg, said months and months ago. Whenever you hear someone say "for the greater good," like turn around and run as fast as you can in the opposite direction, because who gets to decide what the greater good is? No one has that objective morality to say this is the greater good. So, yeah. And I think that message rings very true. And I'm looking at all these books, and I'm going to track these down because, again, I have that whole library, and a lot of it, quite frankly, I don't want to read. I don't want to read Mission Earth. I don't want to read like Scientologist propaganda and stuff, even though it's crazy. Like some of it's just hilarious, some of the concepts of it, but I want to read like relevant science fiction that aligns with my ideology. And I don't mean I don't want to have like self-validation, but I like to read stuff I already kind of agree with, and helps me to expand what I already believe, right? And maybe even challenge some of what I believe to make my beliefs stronger. So all these books he has out there, they all sound amazing in concept, and I have a regret that I didn't hunt them down earlier and read them a long time ago. So yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. And I recommend everyone do that, because if you guys want to read stuff that's not only interesting, like from a science fiction perspective, but also from a freedom and a personal liberty perspective, then track these down. I'm going to do some tweets and all that stuff over the next week. So definitely track this stuff down, and then be on the lookout for the edits and versions that are coming out that Rylla mentioned earlier. So
yes.
Do you guys have any other questions before we wrap it up? We've almost been going 2 hours here.
Wingo, how'd you get your name?
My name is from a book by H. Beam Piper, and that book is Lord Calvin of Otherwen. And it's
this up here.
Yeah, me too. So to be honest, I have not read it. I'm not a big reader. I am a big reader, but I read short form a lot more, and like different. I've read I've read A Clockwork Orange. I've read 1984. I've read a lot of the sort of, subversive classics, if you will. But I never got too much into science fiction myself.
Right.
I think that's where my dad lived. And then I decided to live like much more in reality with my reading and writing. Just because
what?
Well, with my writing, I'm very I stick to, I want to say realism, something like realism, sort of idealized realism. It's got very, very gritty parts, but it also showcases, I think, like the best in people that you wouldn't expect to have a best. One of my favorite characters is my mob boss turned legit, who his mandate from God is to save trafficked children.
Okay.
Wow, that's cool. I like that.
Thank you.
So it's kind of like a mystery pulp type story, something like that.
Kind of with
Crime, whatever.
One moment.
Yeah, one moment for her. Oh no.
Are we back?
There she is.
You're back.
There-
You're back. Yeah.
I told you guys it's the Illuminati.
I'm telling you.
Because I was about to say it's got like sort of a conspiracy theory thing that runs through it. And it all
Okay.
sort of ties together in interesting ways.
Yeah, so you like conspiracy theories and you like to delve into that?
Very much so. And I'm more into conspiracy fact stuff that's been established. MK Ultra comes to mind. That's particularly what I'm interested in.
Oh, okay.
Cool. And it's cool to put that stuff in your writing. Writing about something you're passionate about makes the writing better.
Yeah.
For
Saying
sure.
that I'm passionate about mind control is a very
Very libertarian thing to say.
Check this out. The premise of this Lord Calvin of Otherwin. It recounts the adventures of a Pennsylvania state trooper who is accidentally transported to a more backward parallel universe. That sounds fun.
That's
Man,
awesome.
There we go.
that's cool.
Some new fans now.
Yeah, that was
I'm pretty
my Go ahead.
I was saying, I'm pretty sure, like me and Matt, like we have boring stories for our names. Probably came from the Bible. So
I mean,
Timothy and Matthew. Yeah,
it's the greatest story ever told.
there you go.
Gift
Mhm.
from God is what it means. You're welcome. You're welcome, YouTube.
Are you gonna sing the Moana song now?
Oh, geez. Come on, let's hear it.
he'll do it too. So be careful what you ask for.
I
And
will
that's
do
for
that. I'm theater as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I sing that to my little girls, though. I have 2 twin girls.
Aw.
So, yeah. They don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
They just think daddy's being silly again.
Yeah, being silly and cool or whatever little ones think.
We haven't gotten to the cool part yet. But they
They'll
definitely
think
think that daddy's silly.
for a little while, and then after that, they'll become teenagers. Like, I don't want nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And then
gonna
when they're
happen.
30 something, they'll be like, "My dad's silly and it's cool."
Yeah.
I get them now. I get it.
Back
I get
around.
it. I get it. And as for my name, I have no idea how it came about. It's not even Native American related or Filipino related. So it's just a different way to spell Laura.
It's a beautiful name.
Thank you. Thank you.
Isn't that the name of like the princess from Voltron, if I'm not mistaken?
I know that there was a character that was named Allura.
If you're named after the Princess of Voltron, then
Hold on,
you're
let's look this
like
up.
Uber awesome.
Let's look this up.
They're sitting around watching Voltron going, it'd be an awesome name.
Let's look this up though.
I have a daughter. I have twins, and they're named Piper and Meridian. originally the plan was to name. I'm from Mississippi originally, and so the plan was to name every child after a city in Mississippi. But I got Meridian. I did not get Brookhaven, which is what I was shooting for, or Madison or Pearl. I came up with several of them. She's like, "Where are you getting all these names?" I said, "Yazoo City." Then finally it kind of struck her. I did. She had no idea where I was getting all these names, but I was just naming towns from Mississippi. So
it's okay. Actually Allura, 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 but that's how they pronounced it on the cartoon. So yeah, you're an operator of one of the lions.
They got her name. And say that's one extra, more awesome check mark for you.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I'll take it.
Have you ever seen Voltron, Allura?
Only once.
Only once. That didn't sound good.
There's your
But
answer.
anyway, yeah. But anyway, yeah, we've been going 2 hours, and it's been awesome. And here's the thing, like, we can do this again in a couple months when your project's further along, and maybe we can get your boyfriend on here because Matt's excited to talk to him about Star Wars, and actually we all are. But
we are, yeah.
Oh, no,
but he's the only one making those eyebrows.
I have other questions for him.
Uh-oh.
I suppose he should just be on the stream by himself then.
Oh no, you gotta be there with him.
And it was awesome that Kathy came on, and again, like, thank her every day for the next 2 weeks for doing that, because
that was awesome.
Yeah, very unselfish and wonderful for sure. I'm glad you found the video, and I'm glad it could make a difference. But I was just making it because I wanted to make it. I didn't obviously have any intention of someone finding it and capitalizing on it by having a live stream, but I'm glad we got to do it. I make all my videos I make because I mean what I say. I don't make anything to say something to get like views or whatever. In fact, I probably lose views and subscribers with a lot of my takes, but then I gain the ones that I want. So that's what I like about this game. Yes. But it's, very unselfish of you, and very, very gracious of you to come on here. Thank you very much.
Well, it's very kind of you having me on. Thank you so much. And thanks for caring about my dad. Like,
absolutely.
That's what he cared about most in this world, is that people cared what he had to say. Like, he didn't care if he was super crazy rich or anything, which we weren't. He just cared that people cared. So thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Yes. And does the L in L. Neil Smith stand for Libertarian? I was wondering.
Yes.
Does it really?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Put a straight face that the whole way. I'd have had your back.
Actually, there's one more funny, interesting story.
Yeah.
If you're interested.
Absolutely.
So the L in my dad's name stands for Lester. And he was Lester Neil Smith III. And his father, my grandfather, Lester Neil Smith II, or he was junior, and then he was born, and then, the second.
Right.
He was in I guess it was called the Army Air Force at the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he was shot down over Germany during World War II and marched to Stalag Luft 3 in Poland. And that is actually exactly the camp that the Great Escape is set in, occurred from. He was not part of that, but it is the same camp. I don't even know if my dad knew that.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
That's a piece of history right there. That's very cool. But yeah, like I said, in a couple months here, we can stay in contact and get together again, because this has been one of the most fun streams I've been on over the last year for sure. And I'm not just bullshitting you. So
not just.
Well, it
Thanks,
definitely
Alora.
last
Thanks,
night's
Matt.
stream, but I don't know about I'm kidding. No, this is
Yeah, gladly. You guys have been a blast to talk to. Thank you so much.
Yep. And thanks to the chat. Thanks so much for being here, guys. And I know a lot of you were looking forward to this, like Baron Norman Tag. He was telling me he was looking forward to it, and several other people, just a lot of people saying, wow, this is cool. And just, again, for me, the fact that I was actually having a really bad day that day. I was in the office, and I look at my phone on Twitter, and it's like, there it is. You're like, oh, I found this video, and thank you very much. It's like, not only that the fact that you found it, but that it was able to make a difference, and you actually told me about it. That's fantastic. I'm glad I can make a difference for sure. So
very much so.
Thank you. And you made a difference for us, because this has been amazing, and we got a lot of stories and anecdotes about one of our favorite authors. So thank you very much, Rylla. We'll see you in a couple months here. Everyone, have a good night. Just don't leave yet, Rylla, because after we do the outro, we'll be backstage, just so that you don't disappear on us.
where all the real
All right.
comes in.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. All right. See you, everyone.
Yeah,
Have a good night.
everybody.
The Expanded Universe